So I'm still thinking about things. I think about things quite a lot. This actually is the day after I'm finished in social media, with the exception of this video. All right. Though it's sort of an example about some things that's sort of a pertinent example. All right. So in a hypothetical, it's like me for president, and then John Lovell for president, and then me for president, and then John Lovell for president. Okay. And so my term is up, and I'm like, I get up there and I'm like, okay, everybody needs to vote for John this time. And John goes in and like calms everything down the way that John's really good at. Okay. Because, like, okay, I'm not looking at things like all the American history details and like Paul Revere and la 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 la. Though John actually has more of an exposure about that sort of thing, and he's really consistently reasonable. It doesn't sound ridiculous white American, not actually, when it's John Lovell, and like you can see, like, and John sort of like he grabs those and he like fortifies it somehow back here, like behind what's suggested, and it sounds reasonable when John's talking about things, and like that's why John is next, like, because I'm gonna go in and like make good society things, big sort of some changes, and then John comes in and like does what John does, okay, and he does some things, okay, and so forth, and so John's in the office in this hypothetical, okay, because it gets me to thinking about things, and it like because I'm seeing something, all right, and so I go in, and me and Lance go in, and we go into the game room, and there's a billiards table, and like John and his guy ask me, yeah, if I want a drink. Yeah, I'll have a drink. And then, though Lance doesn't drink, actually, he doesn't, though. Though I'll have a drink, yeah. And so we're shooting a game of pool, a game of billiards, and talking. And somebody like asked me to change this back. Comes up. Oh, huh. And John's serious about it. He's not going to razz me. I was thinking about it. Okay, because he's serious as well. Okay. And so I just thought that was sort of interesting. And I started thinking about things. And I was like, huh. Yeah. That's sort of interesting. And something that John Lovell did. Okay. And I'm thinking about things and I'm like, okay, there was that thing. Cool. Definitely. Though, and I suggest you could fortify that. Amidst all those other Congress people and all the states and so forth. I'm like, where the if some people like maybe John's a Democrat or something and I'm an independent, all right, maybe I'm not certain, not actually. I think John's sort of fair-minded, sort of, okay, as far as some Republicans would figure, maybe a little bit though, okay. And so I was thinking, you could fortify that where, I mean, because there's nothing wrong with it, not actually. Though, like, what might some Congress people think and like debate minded, like pros and cons, and like how do you fortify something? How do you fortify a concept, right? And so you have to think about your opponent, and you have to get it where it's assailable. Your opponent's sort of right. There's something. It could be okay. So where's he going to attack it, right? Because he's just not comfortable with that. Not actually, he's vague, whatever that was. And so I'm like, okay. And so like all these people's perspectives about you, John. Okay, and so what happens? What might happen? Okay, and so like it's totally plausible. People are thinking about you and things that you did and said. Kids have a perspective of you. Okay, and so some kid is getting picked on a little bit in school, and so he takes a gun to school, an unloaded gun. Okay, he intended to get caught with it, an unloaded gun. He was going to flash it at the bullies or whatever. Though, like, he's cool and people have to like him, is what the kid's thinking. He's going to get caught. They're going to give his dad's gun back to him. And the kid just thought he would calm things down and temper things with, like, taking an unloaded gun to school, pistol. Okay? He's going to flash it, and somebody would tell on him. He'd get caught. They'd take the gun. They'd have to get the gun back to his dad. Though the kid he just wanted to make a point. He just thought, well, he's reasonable, though. And tempered things, okay? Though it's sort of not totally cool, not actually. Still sort of really scary, right? Okay? And so I was like, yeah, and you could start a civics class. Okay, you just get the Department of Ed and make a policy about like all the kids in high school have this civics class in the auditorium, and bigger high schools have a few civics classes. And it's like 15 minutes each day, and they talk about laws like no spitting on the sidewalk, you can't brandish a firearm in city limits, and each community would have these civics classes, okay? And then John Lovell makes this the policy, and it tempers things and it fortifies other things amidst people's perspectives of John. Okay, sort of cool. Suggested this in this meeting. All right. Though I was thinking about things, I kept thinking and talking, and I was, and it brought up this thing. And at first, it's like I'm gonna have to spend an hour or two getting this far with it, okay? Because I've already spent an hour or two thinking about this. Because what I came up with, you realize what the American government needs actually is this policy. Okay, so it doesn't go back and forth at a whimsy between Republicans and Democrats, not actually. Okay, we need a policy where it's written in braces, okay, absolute values in math. Okay, like to fortify good legalities and political procedures, close braces. Okay, and it's just this big policy we need. So, like, for an example, and what we need is a couple of sets of examples, Dems and Republicans, things that Dems and Republicans did, a couple of sets. In one set, something reasonable the Dems did. They want to regulate business. That's just gonna fortify good legalities, okay? Good legalities. Yeah. And so the Dems wanted to raise taxes on higher income businesses. Okay? And the Republicans can't just simply come along and, like, at a whimsy, then they want to lower them again. Not at all. Okay? And that's what this policy is sort of about. So, though I'm trying to figure out how do we get into, like, this policy written out in, like, classic political philosophy terms? Okay? How do we see it and, like, put it all together so that it can happen, be written? How? Okay, so a couple of sets of examples. One of them, like, something the Dems did that was reasonable, that was good, okay? And then something the Republicans did that was ridiculous, okay? Something that they might do that's sort of realistic that would be ridiculous. And, okay, I have a little bit of a difficulty coming up with something like, okay, something silly, ridiculous, doesn't really apply. Not actually, like, they made all people work 40 hours a week to help with poor communities, matter of fact. And okay, no, you can't do that, though. Okay, that can't be the example, though, not actually. And in the other set, the example for the Dems can't be controversial nor ridiculous, and it has to actually be something that most people would realize was sort of ridiculous. Something that seems sort of realistic, not controversial, not actually. Okay? All right? Thinking about Dems and recent history. Something not controversial, not actually. All right? Though an example of something ridiculous that, okay. Something reasonable that the Republicans did. They put some limit on, and it's still sort of vague, though, they put some limit on government. They put some limit on government, and, like, the Dems are like, and it was a good thing. It's sort of reasonable, okay? The Dems are like, that's not convenient. Not at all. Like, it's going to slow everything up, and no. All right. They don't really, like, well, and we get our people in, and we're all limited, ha 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 ha. And these Republicans, that attitude about it, and, like, we want change for, like, some good things, and then they want to put limits on all the, and so everybody gets just slowed up, and all the problems just keep happening because we don't. And then the Republicans like, well, maybe we should just have some talks with each other. I mean, I'm cool. Like, we're limited as well when we're And, oh, yeah, because we all understand each other. And the Republicans are like, yeah, do you see what I'm coping with here? Yeah, this attitude all the time. I'm just tired of it. Okay. Though, like, these couple of sets of examples could facilitate thinking about so that it can't go back and forth and back and forth. Not actually. All right. To facilitate good legalities and political procedures. And this political philosophy thing is something that I'm really sort of good at because it's like and like okay, well, do principles in part appertain law when not comprehensive enough for true proof? Not actually. It's like really high-minded classical political philosophy sounding wording. They'll believe that there really are people that are minded and educated about that sort of thing, and it works for. I mean, yeah, okay, sort of like up there, though. Like it works for legalities and government and things like that. And so, but this hypothetical policy about how like it can't go back and forth and back and forth, and actually, like then the Dems can't come along and not limited, ha ha ha, not actually, okay. It was sort of reasonable, though. It was sort of reasonable. It limits the Republicans as well. They can't wreak havoc. Okay, yeah, it limits the Dems, though I mean, their mistakes actually hurt less. Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, sort of reasonable, though it's sort of like it could facilitate writing out this policy so that it can't go back and forth and back and forth. To facilitate good legalities and political procedures. That's the point of this policy, hypothetically. And it's like trying to figure out, I mean, it's sort of like math, okay, sort of like algebra and so forth. Though it's like I'm maybe a little bit leaning towards philosophy and like, uh, uh, just something that I'm thinking about, and just a note, something that I'm thinking about. I think about things quite a lot, and sort of similar to this, and still thinking about things. So, just wanted to mention that. I thought maybe it would be a little bit helpful, even like some people thinking about things. There are people that are minded in such a way, though. Though, yeah, just thought that may be sort of interesting. Anyway, thanks for reading and watching and so forth, and good luck, everybody.